How bad are these elections going to be for Labour?
Well, Labour, of course, aren't defending a great deal because this is, for the most part, rural shire England. In fact, they only control 3 of the councils that they're defending, and they're only defending around 500 or so seats, nearly a quarter of whom are actually in one county, viz. Durham. But the truth is, we have to remember that Labour's position in the opinion polls has weakened over the last 12 months. And actually, if you compare the position in the opinion polls now with where they were back in the spring of 2013 when these seats in England were last fought, we're talking about a 12-point swing from Labour to Conservatives. So I think, in truth, Rawlings and Thrasher's estimate of 50 losses, well, that may be somewhat optimistic for Labour. And, for example, of the 3 council areas that they control, 2 of them, Nottinghamshire and Derbyshire, could well be lost, leaving Labour with virtually a duck so far as council control is concerned in England in these elections.
What would, in England, what would a Lib Dem resurgence look like?
Well, that, I think, is one of the $64,000 questions. We've had this picture, really, ever since the EU referendum, of the Liberal Democrats doing extraordinarily well in some local by-elections, gaining seats that they hadn't even fought the last time around, and then elsewhere, frankly, just doing no more than treading water. So I think certainly we're anticipating the Liberal Democrats will gain, because you have to remember they lost a lot of ground in 2013 when they're still in coalition with the Conservatives. But how much they will gain and where, I think, is much more uncertain. Of course, from their point of view, a patchy performance may well be to their advantage. If indeed they do very well in some places and therefore gain seats, and elsewhere don't do terribly well and don't waste votes, actually they may end up doing relatively well in seats, even if the overall gain in votes is relatively modest.
Will the mayoral elections, they are taking place in Labour's heartland,
yes,
like Manchester, Liverpool and so on. Will that be a pretty hefty consolation prize for Labour, do you think?
Well, it ought to be, certainly in Tees Valley, Greater Manchester, on Merseyside. But there is one contest that I think we're now looking at very, very closely. And that is the contest for the Mayor of West Midlands between Sion Simon and Andy Treat. And in particular, if you look at what happened in the general election back in 2015, Labour were basically 9 points ahead of the Conservatives across the West Midlands as a whole. You look at the swing since the 2015 general election, the opinion polls, and that basically, if you add that swing to where we were 2 years ago, West Midlands now looks like a draw. So I think, in truth, what Labour have to worry about above all in terms of a headline-grabbing loss is that West Midlands contest. And I think, if they were to lose it, that is certainly going to increase the pressure further on Jeremy Corbyn to kind of convince people that at some point in the not-too-distant future he can turn his party's fortunes around. And they are, in truth, at the moment, if the opinion polls at all right, pretty dire.